In the NBA, you have to pretend that Bronny's an NBA player because otherwise you'll upset the king. And remember, he is a 6'2 guard that's a non-point guard. I've never seen that existing in the current NBA. And go back 20 years. He is 1 for 16 in the NBA from the floor, 0 for 7 on threes. He's not an NBA player. He was not a great high school player. He was a good high school player. He wasn't a good college player. He was a college player. And he's not an NBA player. And he may be a great kid. I'm sure he is. LeBron's a nice guy. I've met him. Can we stop pretending on this?
Bronny James, he's 7 for 28 in 4 preseason games from the field. He's 2 for 13, I believe, from three-point range. He's got 8 assists and 8 turnovers. He's moving into year 2. This guy is not an NBA player.
There's an unwritten rule every NBA player learns the second they step into an NBA locker room. Roster spots are sacred. Just 15 per team. Every single one represents hundreds of players who never got their shot. Guys who grinded through summer leagues, survived on 2-way contracts and 10-day deals, spent years playing overseas, and showed up to countless workouts just hoping for one chance to make it. So when a player holds down one of those precious roster spots but can't get real minutes from his own coaching staff, the tension doesn't just sit quietly in the background. It builds, it simmers, and eventually it explodes into the open. That's exactly what's happening right now with the Los Angeles Lakers and Bronny James. On paper, Bronny is an NBA player. He's got the guaranteed contract, he wears the purple and gold, he sits on that bench every single night. But when the Lakers actually needed bodies, when Luka Doncic and Gabe Vincent were out, when Austin Reeves was banged up, when the backcourt was razor thin and the game actually mattered, Bronny didn't get the call. Instead, Redick made a move that spoke volumes. Without him having to say a single word, he started Nick Smith Jr. Let that sink in for a second. Nick Smith Jr., a guy Charlotte cut before his rookie contract even ran out, a guard with negative advanced stats across the board, a scorer who can't guard anybody and doesn't have a clear role anywhere in this league. The Lakers signed him to a 2-way deal, brought him in with zero fanfare, and when it came time to make a real basketball decision in a real NBA game, they chose him over Bronny James. This wasn't about Nick Smith Jr. suddenly becoming some hidden talent. This was about Bronny James not being trusted, and that difference is everything. The Lakers didn't just sit Bronny that night, they sent a message to the entire league without uttering a single word, showing everyone exactly where he stands in their internal hierarchy. When the Suns were blowing them out and the game was already decided, Bronny finally checked in. 9 minutes left on the clock. Garbage time. The outcome already locked in. It's the exact same script we've watched all season long. If the game's close, Bronny doesn't play. If the game matters, Bronny doesn't play. If there's something actually at stake, Bronny doesn't play. That's not player development. That's damage control.
Last night came in, 3 turnovers, 0 for 5, looked terrified, nervous, and the Sixers, you can't fool players, went right after him. This continues to be an unserious story.
This isn't about one bad game. This is about a pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore or explain away. Bronny hasn't logged more than 10 meaningful minutes in an NBA game since early November. Even with injuries stacking up in the backcourt, even when the Lakers desperately needed fresh legs, defensive energy, or any kind of playmaking spark, Redick never once turned to Bronny. That tells you everything you need to know. NBA coaches will stick with struggling players if they believe in them. They'll live with turnovers. They'll let guys play through rough patches. What they absolutely will not do is put someone on the floor who they think actively hurts their chances to win. And right now, the Lakers are basically screaming that Bronny James falls into that category. The question nobody wants to ask out loud is this: is Bronny taking up a roster spot from someone who could actually help this team compete? Because there are players around the league right now, solid bench guards, proven rotation pieces, who would kill for the minutes Bronny isn't even getting. Players who defend at an elite level, players who consistently knock down open threes, players who understand their role and execute without demanding touches. The kind of glue guys that championship contenders lean on when the playoffs roll around. Those players don't get grace periods. They don't get extended runways. They don't get guaranteed contracts because of their last name. They get evaluated purely on what they produce. Bronny hasn't hit that standard yet, not even close. And that's where the resentment starts to build, not just from frustrated fans, but from players and coaches across the entire league. Players notice when someone gets preferential treatment. They notice when opportunities are handed out instead of earned. They notice when a coaching staff refuses to use a player even when logic says he should at least get a legitimate chance. When the Lakers desperately needed a spark against Phoenix, Redick looked everywhere except the very end of his bench. He played Smith Jr. He threw together makeshift lineups. He asked Reeves to shoulder even more of the load. He did everything in his power to avoid playing Bronny until the game was already over and completely meaningless. That's not rotation management. That's not load management. That's flat-out avoidance. Bronny's NBA numbers don't do him any favors either. Through 15 games, he's averaging under 2 points, barely registers any assists, provides virtually no defensive impact, and most of that production has come against opponents' third stringers in garbage time. These aren't high-pressure situations. These aren't minutes against legitimate starters or playoff-level competition. These are minutes where the opposing team has already mentally checked out, and even in those low-stakes moments, Bronny hasn't made any noise. That's what really stinks. If Bronny were absolutely dominating garbage time, if he were flying around on defense, splashing open shots, creating havoc on both ends, the entire conversation would flip overnight. Coaches always reward energy and hustle. The NBA always respects effort. But instead, Bronny has just faded into the background, giving the Lakers absolutely zero reason to expand his role.
Now, zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Bronny James has a guaranteed spot on the 15-man roster. The Lakers are trying to chase a championship. They desperately need depth. They need backcourt defenders. They need players who can handle playoff pressure. And yet, one of their most valuable roster spots is occupied by someone they clearly don't trust when games actually count. That's not sustainable. Front offices don't operate on emotions or storylines. They run on razor-thin margins. When February rolls around and the trade deadline hits, every contract becomes either a valuable chip or a serious problem. And right now, Bronny James looks a lot less like a long-term asset and a lot more like a complicated question mark the Lakers will eventually have to address. Is he untouchable? Not even remotely. Despite the historic father-son storyline, despite all the media attention and marketing value, despite everything, the Lakers have already shown us through their actions that Bronny isn't part of their winning formula. If that's the reality, then justifying his spot on the active roster becomes harder every single week, especially with LeBron James' future with the franchise completely uncertain. LeBron opted in for another season, but everyone knows the clock is ticking. Everyone inside that organization understands what's coming. When that era ends, the natural protection Bronny enjoys right now vanishes with it. Once that shield disappears, the Lakers will evaluate him by the exact same standard they use for everyone else. And so far, that evaluation hasn't looked good. This doesn't mean Bronny can't eventually become a legitimate NBA player. Development isn't always linear. Guards especially need time to refine their game. But development requires consistent opportunities, and opportunities require genuine trust from your coaching staff. Right now, Bronny has neither. He's stuck in the worst possible position for any young player, technically on the roster, but completely frozen out of the actual rotation. That's how promising careers quietly fade away before they ever truly begin. The uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud is this: there are players in the G League, in international leagues, and sitting in free agency right now who would give the Lakers more immediate production than Bronny does today. Defensive specialists who take pride in locking down their assignments, energy guards who change the tempo of games, shooters who know their limitations and excel in their role. Those are the types of players championship teams depend on when it matters most. Those players don't get opportunities like this because roster spots are precious, and one of those spots belongs to Bronny James. This isn't about hating Bronny as a person or discrediting him as a player. This is about cold, hard reality. The NBA is unforgiving because it has to be. There are too many talented players competing for too few spots. Every decision carries weight. Every roster spot sends a signal to the rest of the league. And the signal the Lakers are sending right now is crystal clear. They don't trust Bronny James to help them win basketball games today. Until that changes, the questions won't stop. Questions about nepotism, about fairness, about whether this roster spot is being maximized, and about how much longer the Lakers can afford to carry a player who exists more as a narrative than as an actual basketball contributor. The NBA doesn't wait for anyone. It doesn't care about famous last names, feel-good stories, or family legacies once the ball is tipped. It only cares about one thing: who helps you win basketball games. Right now, Bronny James is learning that brutal lesson in the hardest way possible, from the bench, watching everyone else get the opportunities he thought would be his.